Hi everybody, this workout segment is strength and conditioning supersets using some dumbbells. So what I'd like you to do is grab yourself a pair of heavy dumbbells and also a pair of light dumbbells to get through this workout. For this exercise, we're combining a wide push-up with some basic crunches. So set your hands up into a nice wide position. You can see I'm using the dumbbell to try and keep my hands in the right spot. And then your elbows are out and just working some nice, deep, slow controlled push-ups from here. Then what we'll do is we'll turn around into that supine position, pin your lower back against the ground, make sure your knees nice and bent, and then we're going to work some crunches from here. So you can see I'm using a little bit of neck support, but what I am doing is I'm keeping my elbows wide side to side and I'm looking straight up so that I'm not yanking at my neck. Lift all the way up without lifting your lower back and then come back down to the ground for this one. Your turn to try this superset. Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset.
in my pocket, keep up. So many pretty girls around me and they're waking up the rocket, keep up. Why you mad? Fix your face. Ain't my fault they all be jocking, keep up. Players only, come on, put your pinky rings up to the moon. Girls, what you trying to do? 24-karat magic in the air.
Combining some rotating chest presses with single arm shoulder presses for this exercise. So lying on your bench with your lower back pinned against the bench, we're going to start with a neutral hand position and our elbows tucked in. And so we're really going to push with our triceps and rotate our hands as we do the press. Now you can see I've got my head lifted, which is going to help support my back and really engage my core through this exercise as well. You're welcome to do it with your head lifted like mine, but if you want to rest your head and just focus on the arms, then you can do that as well. Then we're going to sit up and we're going to work some single arm shoulder presses. Now, very important to keep a neutral spine, and you can see I'm using my opposite hand to hold the bench, and what that does is that helps you with stability and it holds you in position so you can better isolate your shoulders. We're going to hit one side and then switch it up and do the other side as well. Your turn to try this combination.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset.
I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. I like to move it, move it. You like to move it.
Single arm row and biceps preacher combination for this exercise. So starting with your single arm row, you can see that I've got one hand and one knee supported on the bench, and then I'm lifting the weight straight up with my elbow tucked in by my ribs until the weight gets to my ribs, and then releasing nice and steady. We're going to combine this with some biceps preacher curls. So using your opposite arm for support, just locking your elbow into the back of your hand, and then you're essentially pushing off that hand and hitting those curls from there. So this will give you a good bit of support, and it should do a good job isolating your biceps and your forearms. We're going to try this combination on both sides. So hit your row, and then using the same side, go into your biceps curl, and then we're going to change it and do the other side as well. Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset. Shoulder shrugs and bent over delt raise combination for this exercise. Now I'm doing this seated, but if you prefer doing it standing, then that's okay as well. The other thing you'll notice is that I'm circling back with my shrugs. Now you can do it the way I'm doing it, or you could do it straight up and down, whichever one you prefer, as long as your back is remaining nice and neutral and that you're not lifting with your elbows. So we want to make sure that you're not bending your elbows so your arms are doing the lifting. You want to make sure the power's coming from your shoulders and your traps. And then we're going to switch it up. We're going to bend forward and work our lateral raises from there. So we really want to try and hit the rhomboids and the posterior delts with this one. Dropping your arms down into that relaxed position and then lifting them up lateral in that soft, straight, pronated hand position until you've got that straight T-line. So again, really hitting the back of those shoulders. Your turn to try this combination.
I got no rules, I count it. I got no rules, I count it. I got it, I got no rules, I count it. I got no rules, I count it. I got no rules, I count it.
Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset.
I got no I count it. I got no I count it. I got it all. I got no I count it. I got no I count it. I got no I count it.
Combining a chest pullover with some chest flies for this exercise. So starting with your pullover, holding your dumbbell in that eyelet grip position and just starting with your arms nice and vertical. Now what we want to do is we want to keep the elbows soft straight and then re-angle your arms until they're horizontal and then bring it back up into that vertical position. Now, very important not to bend your elbows down. We don't want to go into some tricep extensions. We want to make sure that this exercise remains a chest pullover. And then what we'll do, we'll switch it up and we're going to work some chest flies. So lying on your bench with your lower back pinned right against the bench, you want to start with your arms vertical and then open them up in that lateral movement and get them down until you've got a straight line from hand to hand so that you're in that T-line. Now you want to make sure you don't exceed that T-line because we don't want to put additional pressure on the rotator cuffs. At that point you just want to press and bring it all the way back up into that vertical arm position. Your turn to try this combination for yourself.
She wants it, she wants it, she wants it, gotta give it to you. She wants it, she wants it, she wants it, gotta give it to you. Let's get together, maybe we can start a new phase. The smoke's got the club all hazy, spotlights don't do you justice, baby. Why don't you come over here? You got me saying, hey, I'm tired of using technology. Why don't you sit down on top of me? Hey, need you right in front of me.
Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset.
Let's get together, maybe we can start a new phase. The smoke's got the club all hazy, spotlights don't do you justice, baby. Why don't you come over here? You got me saying, hey, I'm tired of using technology. Why don't you sit down on top of me? Hey, I'm tired of using technology. I need you right in front of me.
Combining a weighted glutes bridge and a plank for this exercise. So just lying down with your knees bent and the weight on top of your hips, we're going to lift up into a glutes bridge until you have a straight line from your knee all the way to your shoulder. And then we're going to release slowly until your tailbone touches the ground, and we're going to keep the action going. We'll then turn around and work a prone plank. So you want to make sure that you've got good support underneath your elbows, maintaining your straight line from your shoulder all the way to your ankle so that you're not dipping at your hips, and just keeping even weight distribution between your elbow and the ball of your foot. Keep your core engaged and hold this position for the duration of the set. Now, this is one of the only exercises where you can tuck your tailbone in a little bit if you like. That's going to give your back some protection, and it's going to further engage your abs. Your turn to try this one.
Guess who's back? Back again. Shady's back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? 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 who's back? Back again. Shady's back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? 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 Guess who's back?
Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset.
Guess who's back? Back again. Shady's back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? 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 Guess who's back?
Without me, I said this looks like a job for me. So everybody just follow me, cause we need a little controversy, cause it feels so empty without me.
Guess who's back? Back again. Shady's back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? 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 Guess who's back?
Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset.
Guess who's back? Back again. Shady's back. Tell a friend. Guess who's back? 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 tell a friend. Guess who's back? 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 Guess who's back?
Russian twist and dumbbell abs tuck combination for this exercise. So starting with the Russian twist, you can see that my feet are lifted and I'm using my hips and lower abs to control my posture, basically. And then from here, it's a movement side to side. So just twisting around, making sure my obliques and intercostals are getting the job done. And you can see nice, steady, controlled movement. So I want you guys to really look for that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to switch it up, lie back down and go into some abs tucks. So by keeping the dumbbell on your thigh, it's just going to weigh the whole thing down a little bit. So it's going to make it a little bit more challenging. You want to make sure that you pull your knees in as far as you can towards your chest and then extend your legs all the way out until they're nice and straight. Your turn to try this combination.
You stupid hoe.
Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset. You stupid hoe. working some abs crunches by bringing the dumbbell to your chest and then lifting in a vertical line and lifting your head and shoulder blades until you're in that crunched position for this exercise. Make sure your knees are remaining bent and that your lower back is staying on the floor. Then we're going to change it up and work some abs rollovers. So start in that supine position, have your arms up holding that dumbbell, and then it's a matter of throwing your legs up nice and straight until they get vertical or until they get close to your dumbbell, and then slowly releasing it back into that horizontal position, and then making sure you stop before your heels touch the ground. Now you can see I've got my shoulder blades and my head lifted, which is going to further support my lower back, and it's going to keep my lower back pinned against the floor. Your turn to try this combination.
What about a late night? Oh, you really leaving me for someone else? I want to let you know. You can call my name and I'll come running back to you. Running back to you. I'll come running back. You can call my name and I'll come running back to you. Running back. I'll come running back to you.
Who let the dogs out? 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 Who let the dogs out?
Yeah, I'm working all the problems. Oh, you really leaving me for someone else? I want to let you go. You can call my name and I'll come running back to you. Running back to you. I'll come running back. You can call my name and I'll come running back to you. Running back.
Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset.
What about a late night? Oh, you really leaving me for someone else? I want to let you know. You can call my name and I'll come running back to you. Running back to you. I'll come running back. You can call my name and I'll come running back to you. Running back. I'll come running back to you.
Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out? Who let the dogs out?
You.
Who let the dogs out? 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 Yeah, I'm working all the problems.
combining some obliques tilts with some good mornings for this core exercise. So starting with your feet nice and wide and your knees straight for this one, we're going to lift the dumbbell over our head and then we're going to tilt to the side without bending our knees. So you want your obliques to absorb all of the pressure for this one. And then just making sure that it's a movement to the side. So you don't want to push behind you. We don't want to put any pressure on the lower back. Once we do these, let's switch it up and work some good mornings. So all you do is you bring the dumbbell all the way to your upper chest, press it against your chest, and we're going to bend forward with a neutral spine and you're keeping your knees soft straight throughout. So you're going to feel that pressure running through your back and then also in the hamstrings as well. So you should get a little bit of a hamstring stretch throughout this exercise. Make sure you keep your shoulders pushed back and make sure you've got nice control over your movement. Make sure you don't tuck your tailbone in, because if you do, you're going to put some pressure on your lumbar spine and we want to try and avoid that for this exercise.
When love takes over, yeah, you know you can't deny. When love takes over, yeah, 'cause something's here tonight.
Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset.
it's here tonight.
Combining a goblet squat with a sumo deadlift for this exercise. So starting with your goblet squat, you can see that my feet are parallel, toes are pointing forward, knees are right over the top of it, so we're running on train tracks basically. And as I drop down, you can see that my elbow touches my thigh, so that's gonna create that perfect lower position in your squat. And then you basically stand back up and keep those repetitions going. Then we're going to change over and work some sumo deadlifts. Now you can see I've gone with a kettle grip on this one. So my hands are in a neutral position. My legs are nice and wide. My toes are pointing out. So as I drop forward and down into these deadlifts, I'm not only using my back, but I'm really using my glutes and my hamstrings as well. This superset will be a nice compound legs workout. Let's get you to have a go.
Maybe we need some time alone. We need to let it breathe.
So what's life supposed to be about, baby? Get rid of your vibe and stop acting crazy. Reminisce on all the good times daily. Why you trying to pose like I be acting
All we do is make up, then break up. Why don't we wake up and see? When love hurts, it won't work. Maybe we need some time alone. We need to let
Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset.
Maybe we need some time alone. We need to let it breathe.
So what's life supposed to be about, baby? Get rid of your vibe and stop acting crazy. Reminisce on all the good times daily. Why you trying to pose like I be acting
All we do is make up, then break up. Why don't we wake up and see? When love hurts, it won't work. Maybe we need some time alone. We need to let
a dumbbell deadlift and isometric squat combination for this exercise, guys. So starting with your deadlifts, now you can see that we're going into what looks like a squat, but you're leaning forward as you do it. So we're bending the knees, we're using the quadriceps, we're using the glutes, but we're also using our back for this exercise. So drop down until the dumbbells are almost at the floor, and then when you lift up, we're separating the dumbbells and pulling our shoulders back. So really emphasizing the flexion in the back for this one. Then we're gonna switch. Hold just one of the dumbbells and go into an isometric squat. So with this one, you want to make sure that your feet are just a little wider than your shoulders. Your feet are nice and parallel, and then you're dropping down into that squat while maintaining vertical posture. Hold the dumbbell in place until the end of the set.
She wants it, she wants it, she wants it, gotta give it to you. She wants it, she wants it, she wants it, gotta give it to you. Let's get together, maybe we can start a new phase. The smoke's got the club all hazy, spotlights don't do you justice, baby. Why don't you come over here? You got me saying, hey, I'm tired of using technology. Why don't you sit down on top of me? Hey, I'm tired of using technology. I need you right in front of me.
Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset. Let's get together, maybe we can start a new phase. The smoke's got the club all hazy, spotlights don't do you justice, baby. Why don't you come over here? You got me saying, hey, I'm tired of using technology. Why don't you sit down on top of me? Hey, I'm tired of using technology. I need you right in front of me. hips thruster and calves raise superset for this exercise. So starting with your hips thrusters, make sure you've got the dumbbell sitting at your hips, and then we're going to lift all the way up until you hit a straight line from your knee to your shoulder, and then dropping back down into that rested position. Now as you lift up, you're really squeezing your hamstring and glutes and your lower back, and then trying to put a little pause at the top of it before you get back down into that seated position. We're going to then switch it up and work some calves raises. So standing up with your feet at shoulder width, your spine nice and neutral, we're going to lift all the way up to the ball of the foot, engaging those calves, putting a little pause at the top if we can, and then dropping back down until your feet are nice and flat. Let's have a go at this superset now.
I got no rules, I count 'em. I got no rules, I count 'em. I got it all to myself. I got no rules, I count 'em. I got no rules, I count 'em. I got no rules, I count 'em. I got it all to
Let's take a rest break and repeat that last superset. A nice difficult thigh burner cardio combination for this exercise, guys. So we're going to combine plyometric squats with running with high knees without the dumbbell. Starting with your plyometric squats, hold onto the dumbbell, drop down into a nice square squat. So make sure that your feet are at shoulder width and that your toes are pointing forward, everything's nice and parallel. And then we're going to jump up and lightly land on the ball of your foot before you transfer your weight back to your heels. The idea is to try to minimize any joint impact on your knees. Then we'll lose the dumbbells and run on the spot with high knees. So again, light on the ball of the foot and just running on the spot until the end of the set. Your turn to try this one.
She's sweet but a psycho, a little bit psycho. At night she's screaming, I'm on my mind, my mind. Oh.
A great cardio combination for this one, guys. This is particularly good for post-workout cardio, or it's good for warm-up as well. You can see we're working some gentle half burpees. So I'm basically stepping into the burpee position. There's no push-up and there's no jump at the end. So it's essentially just getting the blood circulating. It's a nice warm-up, and like I said, it'll get the heart rate up as well. And then we're going to switch it up and work some lunge hops. So again, very nice and light on the ball of the foot. Try and keep minimal impact on those knees. And you can see it's a nice lengthy lunge hop that I'm doing, and it's consistent pace and just staying nice and light on the ball of the foot. Your turn to try this one. nice cardio combination for this one, guys. So very lightly on the ball of the foot, we're going to start with some jumping jacks. Let's try and keep a nice steady pace for the minute, and then we'll switch it up and start to work some push-ups, but we're going to throw some knee strikes in there as well to really engage the core and engage the hips as well. You can see I'm doing pretty deep push-ups, and then as I come up, I'm going to throw that knee strike in. Now, if you can't do push-ups, then you can always do the rookie version off your knees, and then when you get back up, make sure you throw exactly the same knee strike.
Now that we found love, what are we gonna do with it? Now that we found love, what are we gonna do with it?
Let's go.
If you like this video and you want to see more like it, then remember to click here on the right and subscribe to this channel. I also think this video and this video down here might be of interest to you, so be sure to check it out.